Welcome to the CompTIA Project Plus prepcast by baremetalcyber.com. The term ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, and it refers to a set of non-financial performance criteria that can be applied to project management. These criteria are increasingly relevant because they influence how projects are evaluated by stakeholders, regulators, and investors. For the CompTIA Project Plus certification exam, it is important to understand that ESG principles are not optional enhancements, but formal considerations that can impact project planning, execution, and closeout. A project manager must be able to integrate these elements into project processes to meet organizational and compliance requirements. ESG factors matter in projects because they can influence an organization's public image, compliance status, and attractiveness to investors or funding bodies. Projects that demonstrate clear alignment with ESG principles are more likely to receive internal approval and external support. Ignoring ESG can result in missed funding opportunities, negative publicity, or even regulatory penalties. Understanding this connection helps a project manager justify ESG-related requirements and ensure that they are built into the project scope from the beginning. Environmental factors within ESG focus on the ways a project affects natural resources and the surrounding ecosystem. This can include the project's use of energy, its greenhouse gas emissions, the waste it produces, and its impact on land or water resources. A project manager must evaluate these elements both in terms of direct project activities and indirect impacts, such as supply chain or transportation. For exam purposes, recognize that mitigation strategies may involve selecting alternative materials, improving energy efficiency, or designing for reduced waste. Social factors in ESG cover the project's impact on people, both inside the organization and in the wider community. This includes labor practices, workplace diversity, community relations, and health and safety standards. A project that meets social factor expectations might ensure fair labor conditions for contractors, implement accessibility features for end users, or run community outreach programs. In the context of the certification, this means understanding that social factors can affect stakeholder satisfaction, project acceptance, and even compliance with labor laws. Governance factors within ESG relate to the processes, controls, and policies that guide ethical and compliant project execution. This can involve transparency in decision-making, adherence to anti-corruption laws, and maintaining accurate documentation for audit purposes. A project manager is responsible for ensuring that governance requirements are embedded into workflows and that all project activities adhere to relevant internal policies and industry regulations. Strong governance helps protect the project from legal or reputational risks. ESG considerations can shape project strategy by influencing which projects are selected, how they are prioritized, and which methods or locations are used for execution. For example, an organization with a strong sustainability policy might prioritize renewable energy projects or avoid vendors with poor environmental records. This alignment between strategy and ESG goals must be reflected in the project plan and communicated clearly to decision-makers. Stakeholder expectations around ESG have grown significantly in recent years. Customers, employees, and investors often require evidence that projects are environmentally responsible, socially equitable, and well-governed. A project manager must be prepared to provide documentation and progress updates that demonstrate alignment with these expectations. Failure to do so can erode trust and reduce support for the project. The regulatory landscape for ESG is expanding, with many industries now subject to specific environmental and social reporting requirements. These might include mandatory environmental impact assessments, workforce diversity reporting, or ethical sourcing verification. A project manager must remain informed about applicable regulations and ensure that compliance is factored into both planning and execution. This may require coordination with legal or compliance departments to verify that project deliverables meet all relevant standards. Risk management is closely connected to ESG considerations. Potential risks can include environmental penalties for exceeding emissions limits, reputational damage from poor labor practices, or governance failures leading to compliance violations. Integrating ESG into the risk management process means identifying these risks early, assessing their probability and impact, and developing appropriate mitigation plans. This strengthens the overall resilience of the project and protects its objectives. Aligning a project with ESG principles can also create a competitive advantage. Projects that meet or exceed ESG criteria are often approved more quickly, gain stronger stakeholder backing, and can be marketed as part of an organization's sustainability or social responsibility initiatives. This alignment may also make the project more attractive to investors or customers who value ethical and environmentally conscious operations. A project charter is a key document for embedding ESG into the project framework. Including explicit ESG objectives and constraints in the charter ensures that these priorities are recognized from the start. It also provides a reference point for decision-making during execution, helping teams balance ESG goals with other project constraints. On the exam, understand that early integration of ESG objectives into documentation supports consistent alignment throughout the project lifecycle. Tracking ESG performance requires clear metrics and key performance indicators. Environmental metrics might include total energy consumption, carbon footprint, or waste diversion rates. Social metrics could cover workforce diversity percentages, incident rates, or community engagement outcomes. Governance metrics might involve the percentage of completed compliance audits, the number of governance training sessions held, or stakeholder satisfaction survey results. Selecting relevant and measurable indicators is essential for accurate reporting. Balancing ESG goals with cost and scope can be challenging. Sustainability initiatives or social programs may introduce additional expenses or require design changes that affect the timeline. A project manager must evaluate these trade-offs with stakeholders, ensuring that ESG commitments are realistic and that they do not undermine the core project deliverables. This often requires careful prioritization and negotiation to maintain both compliance and project viability. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. ESG strategies are not limited to single projects. In portfolio and program management, ESG commitments can set the tone for how entire groups of projects are selected, prioritized, and evaluated. An organization may have portfolio-level sustainability goals, social equity targets, or governance frameworks that each project must align with. A project manager operating in this context must understand how their project fits into the broader strategic plan and may need to inherit specific ESG targets that cannot be altered at the individual project level. The project manager plays a central role in implementing ESG within the project environment. This includes translating broad ESG policies into specific, actionable project activities, ensuring that deliverables align with required environmental, social, and governance standards, and documenting all relevant compliance measures. The project manager is also responsible for monitoring ESG progress, reporting outcomes, and serving as a liaison between the project team and any ESG-focused stakeholders or committees. Team involvement is critical for successful ESG integration. Project team members can help identify potential ESG risks and opportunities that might not be obvious during initial planning. Cross-functional collaboration brings in perspectives from procurement, operations, compliance, and other areas that can improve ESG outcomes. Fostering a culture of inclusion and encouraging open discussion of ESG goals helps ensure team buy-in and promotes innovation in meeting those objectives. Vendor and partner selection is another area where ESG considerations are important. A project manager must assess the ESG credentials of potential suppliers and contractors, reviewing their environmental policies, labor practices, and governance structures. Third-party risks, such as poor labor conditions or environmental violations by vendors, can affect the project's compliance and reputation. Contracts may need to include specific ESG clauses, along with performance indicators that are monitored throughout the engagement. ESG audits and assessments help measure whether the project is meeting its environmental, social, and governance commitments. These reviews can be internal, conducted by the organization's compliance or sustainability teams, or external, performed by third-party auditors. Findings from these audits often feed into organizational reporting and may be required for regulatory compliance. A project manager must coordinate audit activities, provide necessary documentation, and address any issues identified in the review. Documentation plays a significant role in demonstrating ESG alignment. This may include environmental permits, social impact assessments, governance policies, and training records. In many industries, maintaining comprehensive records is necessary for regulatory audits or certification processes. Project managers should ensure that ESG documentation is stored securely, is easily retrievable, and is kept up to date throughout the project lifecycle. ESG considerations do not end at project completion. During closeout, the final report should capture the project's ESG achievements and lessons learned. Reviewing ESG metrics alongside traditional measures like scope, schedule, and budget provides a complete view of the project's performance. Feedback gathered at this stage can inform future planning and improve ESG practices across the organization's portfolio. Communicating the value of ESG to stakeholders is essential. This involves explaining not only what ESG goals were achieved, but also how those outcomes contribute to broader organizational objectives. Success stories may be shared with customers, boards, or the public to build credibility and strengthen stakeholder relationships. A clear, factual presentation of ESG results supports ongoing engagement and may help secure support for future initiatives. Integrating ESG into projects does come with challenges. Conflicts can arise when sustainability or social goals increase costs or extend timelines, leading to tension between ESG objectives and short-term business pressures. Some teams may be unfamiliar with ESG concepts or resistant to change. A project manager must be prepared to educate stakeholders, advocate for ESG priorities, and negotiate trade-offs to maintain alignment with both operational and strategic goals. Certain success factors can improve ESG performance in projects. Integrating ESG early in scope definition, planning, and risk assessment ensures it becomes part of the project foundation. Assigning clear ownership, maintaining strong leadership support, and defining measurable performance indicators are all essential. Continuous monitoring and the ability to adapt to changing ESG standards or stakeholder expectations help maintain relevance and compliance. Trends in ESG for project management indicate that reporting is becoming a standard expectation across many industries. Artificial intelligence and analytics tools are increasingly used to collect, analyze, and report ESG data more efficiently. At the same time, investors and regulators are applying more scrutiny to ESG claims, making accurate data and transparent reporting more important than ever for maintaining credibility. Learning resources for ESG integration are expanding. The Project Management Body of Knowledge, ISO 26000 Social Responsibility Standards, and Global Reporting Initiative Guidelines provide structured approaches to ESG implementation. Specialized ESG certifications and training programs are emerging, offering project managers the opportunity to deepen their expertise. Staying current with these resources helps ensure that ESG integration meets both compliance needs and evolving stakeholder expectations. In summary, ESG is shaping how projects are chosen, planned, and delivered. For project managers, aligning with environmental, social, and governance goals is a critical part of delivering value, reducing risk, and ensuring that projects meet the expectations of all stakeholders. Effective ESG practices enhance organizational reputation, improve compliance, and contribute to long-term business sustainability. Thank you for listening. Please follow baremetalcyber.com on social media and check out our books at cyberauthor.me.